This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
And welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, and as always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia. For today's show, obviously, we're going to get into some NFL news, some NBA scores. Believe it or not, we're going to be talking a tiny bit of tennis and golf in the last segment, the fourth segment. See what I can do with that. Talk about Tiger Woods, talk about Roger Federer, how he's been dominating since pretty much, I remember putting on ESPN and them showing tennis highlights. So we'll be talking about that and pretty much anything else going on in sports. As far as the NFL news goes, we'll be talking about Earl Thomas, his comments about his little contract situation that he's got. We'll be talking about the Buffalo Bills in the third segment. They're losing Eric Wood. Eric Wood is losing his NFL career with a career-ending neck injury, so we'll be talking about how, like, just pretty much that's just like another hole that Buffalo's got to fill in offense, and we'll just pretty much talk about Buffalo going forward and what they need to do. But like I said, we'll be doing NBA scores also from yesterday's games. Warriors blew out the Timberwolves, so we'll talk about that for a bit. We'll also talk about why NBA players might be the softest players in all of professional sports. All right, so we'll be doing all that. But first, we're going to start off with this whole Earl Thomas contract situation. All right, so I believe Earl Thomas is going to be on the last year of his deal. Doesn't have an extension yet, and nothing's been negotiated. Okay? Earl Thomas came out and said that he wants to finish his career there, but he doesn't see himself going out there if he's not signed. All right? So, obviously, that's pretty much code for I'm going to hold out unless they give me a long-term deal. And if I'm Seattle, let's put it this way, okay? I understand what Earl Thomas brings to the table. I understand that he's one of the best safeties in the league when he's healthy and when he's out there, but that's the big thing right there. How often is Earl Thomas healthy? All right? Him and Cam Chancellor's usually been more available than not, but both of them have usually been pretty have been injured year after year, and as far as Earl Thomas goes, he's been more injured than Cam Chancellor ever has been. So it's like year after year, Earl Thomas is always hurt, he's always dealing with something, he's always missing a few games. I get that, like I said, I get that he is one of the best safeties in the league when he is healthy, but how can you be threatening a holdout when you can't even stay on the field? It just doesn't make sense to me. I understand a guy like Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell went out and said that if the Steelers franchise him again, he's just going to probably sit out the year or he's going to think about retiring. I get that completely, all right? That's Le'Veon Bell. That's the best running back in the league. That's a guy who can stay on the field, okay? Earl Thomas, like I said, does not stay on the field whatsoever. And it makes sense for him to get a long-term contract from Seattle. I'm not even sure if I'm Seattle, maybe I'm just overthinking it a bit, but just bringing back an injury-prone player like that, and again, I know his ability. I know he's one of the best in the league when he's out there, but the best ability is availability, right? So he's hardly ever out there, and we've seen, like we saw earlier in the season, him telling Jason Garrett when he has the chance, come get him so he could go over there. He goes out and says that he didn't mean it like that. He wants to stay in Seattle, but nonetheless, what else could that mean? So, Seattle right now has got a bunch of issues they got to deal with. Okay, they got to figure out and make sure that Richard Sherman's going to come back and be the cornerback that he has been the last few seasons. And Richard Sherman, I think, is the last couple of years is kind of started to dip a little bit in his play. He's not like the lockdown corner he was that one year. I think it was when they played the 49ers in the divisional round, their NFC Championship game. Remember that? It was when he was yelling at poor Aaron Andrews after that game. But yeah, he was yelling at her because of Michael Crabtree, saying something about him. But nonetheless, Richard Sherman really just hasn't been the player that he used to be the last couple of seasons. He's still a great corner, but you could tell he's starting to dip in his play a little bit. Then you got to find a number 2 receiver. You need to fix up that offensive line. You need running backs. You need to figure out what's going on with Cam Chancellor and Cliff Averill. You need to fix up that defensive line a bit. And like I said, I mean, the whole Richard Sherman, you got to wait to see for him. So, I mean, the Seahawks got a lot of problems they got to fix up before I think they think about giving Earl Thomas a long-term extension. I mean, what are you going to do? Like, obviously, I think they lost their defensive coordinator to Dallas. So, I mean, it's pretty difficult, the whole situation, as far as him getting a long-term deal. Personally, Seattle has been a team that really hasn't been one who gives out big deals or anything like that. I think they paid Cam Chancellor. They ended up caving and paying him the last year, I think it was. And then they paid Doug Baldwin. Obviously, you're going to have to pay Russell Wilson. They're going to pay Russell Wilson. So, I mean, as far as all that goes, yeah, they've gotten those three players right there. But other than that, I mean, like I said, Earl Thomas can't stay healthy. And, like, if I'm the Seahawks right here, like I said, you got a whole lot of holes you got to fix up before you even thinking about paying Earl Thomas. Because then you got to worry about San Francisco. San Francisco is going to be, it looks like they're going to be a nice little solid team. All right, got a bunch of cap space. They're going to use a lot of that on Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm not sure what kind of contract he's going to get. Probably around 7 years at least, 6 years, 125 mil, most likely. I mean, let's do some quick math. Ooh, that might be too much math for me. Let's see, 7, 12, 1, 5, 5, about 17 million right there a year. He's going to have to get more than that, I feel. So it's going to be way more than 125 million for 7 years. So either way, I mean, now you got to worry about San Francisco, like I said, because now you got Jimmy Garoppolo out there. They could draft a guy like Calvin Ridley, the young defense. So, I mean, San Francisco you got to worry about. Then you got to worry about the Rams, who won the division this past year. Jared Goff coming up in his third year. He's developed each year he's played. And you got Todd Gurley, possible MVP, who I think, honestly, Todd Gurley, he's not going to win it, but I think he should. I don't know if he should, but I mean, there should be a whole lot more talk about Todd Gurley this season as far as winning the MVP award. Let me see if I can pull up his season stats for this year. Let's see. He finished the year with over 1,300 yards and 13 touchdowns. Let me see if I could find his receiving numbers, because I know he was a big part of that right there too. Receiving stats. Let's see if we got it right here. He had, all right, so 788 receiving yards, 64 receptions, 6 touchdowns. That's a total of 19 total touchdowns, and a little bit over 2,000 all-purpose yards. All right, Todd Gurley, I think the MVP award's gonna end up going to Tom Brady, but without Todd Gurley, I mean, this Rams offense doesn't work at all. I know Robert Woods played well at home. All right, Cooper Kupp was a nice little rookie this year. Sammy Watkins was nice little number 2 receiver, is kind of inconsistent. And I get Tom Brady too. All right, I get the fact that he probably, I think Tom Brady's winning the MVP by default, to be honest. All right, they're not going to give it to a running back. Antonio Brown was in the running for it, but then he tore his calf muscle for the last 3 weeks, 3 weeks before the season ended, so that really hurt him there. And then you had Carson Wentz, who was going to win the MVP, no doubt. But nonetheless, he tore his ACL. And even a guy like Case Keenum probably should be in the running there, but he won't be. So, I mean, it's going to come down between Todd Gurley and Tom Brady. Like I said, I think it's going to Brady, but Gurley should have he should be more talked about as far as that award goes. All right, and like I said, Seattle still got to worry about Arizona also. All right, they're getting David Johnson back. You still got Larry Fitzgerald. They're not a really young defense, but they got some young players out there who are developing, and they still got the older guys out there too. All right, the only problem with Arizona is that they really don't have a quarterback yet. I'm not sure what they're going to do at quarterback right now, whether it be a guy like Alex Smith, possibly a Kirk Cousins type, maybe a Sam Bradford, or let me see if I could find their draft pick. What pick they're drafting this year. Let's see. I think they should be around the early teens. They finished 8-8 this season, I think it was. Let's see. It should be in between 11 and 20. Let's see. They have the 15th pick. All right. They need a quarterback, but I'm not sure what quarterback's going to fall down to them right there. I mean, maybe you could get a guy like Baker Mayfield, or I doubt that they're going to go the Lamar Jackson way. Let's see. If I had to go my quarterbacks off first, it'd be Darnold going number 1 to the Browns, then Rosen number 2 to the Giants. Then, I mean, the Broncos is kind of not sure what they're going to do yet, whether it be bringing in Kirk Cousins and sign him or drafting Mayfield or Allen. Right now, I think I'm almost positive that the Broncos have a coaching staff for one of the teams in the Senior Bowl, and I know that they did request to have Josh Allen and Baker Mayfield on their team. So, I mean, they're looking at those two right there. Whoever plays the best, I guess, in the Senior Bowl is probably going to be the guy that gets drafted by the Broncos. So I'll go Josh Allen. And then the Jets, they're right after that. They'll probably take a guy like Baker Mayfield. We could see 4 quarterbacks going in the top 10. All right, so that pretty much leaves after that. It's the quarterback from Washington State, Lamar Jackson, Mason Rudolph. And I'm not sure like if they're really going to fit in with a team like the Cardinals, because I know the Cardinals, they have a team that's built to fight for the playoffs now. So I see the Cardinals more going after a guy like Alex Smith or after like Kirk Cousins, unless Denver gets him, or even a guy like Sam Bradford. Tyrod Taylor might be a decent fit there, but I don't think Tyrod Taylor is going to have a job next season unless it's as a backup. And that's kind of unfair to Tyrod Taylor just because of the fact that he wasn't bad in Buffalo. All right, he just had no weapons to throw to. Like Kelvin Benjamin, he's an okay receiver right now. He's no better than a number 2 receiver. The rest of the receivers that they drafted really didn't show up or play well this season. And then pretty much, I mean, all you got to do is throw to Charles Clay or LaShawn McCoy. Those are pretty much the leading receivers week in and week out for Buffalo. But, I mean, that's a whole different story. So, like I said, I mean, Seattle's got to worry about building their team to compete with these other teams because Seattle took a step back this past season. All right, Russell Wilson can't continue to scramble out there and make plays out of nothing. You eventually got to fix up that offensive line. And I think in the draft this year, they need to finally do that. Let's see, what pick to the Seahawks? They have the 18th pick. So, I mean, you got Dwayne Brown still. But we still got to fix up the guard positions and all the other offensive line positions there. Because, I mean, Seattle's offensive line has been brutal the last, 4 years, I guess you could say. You still have no running back. I mean, they were going between Eddie Lacy, Mike Davis, Jared McKissick. Let's see, who else do they have back there at the running back position? I think they're missing someone. Like Thomas Rawls never worked out. All right, I think they need to go after another receiver. Paul Richardson's been all right, but I mean, he really hasn't been great. Doug Baldwin is your true number 1 receiver there. All right, they can get by with Jimmy Graham as the tight end. I think he had, 8 touchdowns this season. And then, like I said, you're going to need a cornerback to eventually to pair up with either Richard Sherman or a guy to put in Sherman's spot if he's not healthy enough in time week 1. And then, like I said, you got to worry about the defensive line and then Cam Chancellor's spot, whether or not he's coming back. So as far as bringing it back all to the main point, I mean, as far as giving Earl Thomas a contract extension before the season starts, I just don't really see it happening. And I don't think Earl Thomas, he's going to hold out in training camp probably if he doesn't get that contract, but I'm sure he'll be out there week 1 because this is a contract year right here. And if you don't play the year, like Le'Veon Bell said he would, and I mean, that's going to go way differently for Earl Thomas than it would for Le'Veon Bell, obviously. So I don't really see Earl Thomas getting a contract extension before the season starts. And if he holds out, it's just going to be for training camp, and I'm sure he'll be back for week 1. It's just something he's got to threaten, so that way Seattle has to think about giving him that deal. Like I said, so far he said that no progress has, there's been no talks about a contract extension from Seattle or his agent, so we got to wait and see how that all ends up. But that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Next up, we're going to be talking some NBA from, Thursday night, and then after that, in the third segment, we'll be talking Buffalo Bills, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines. They got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. Now, last segment we talked a bit about Earl Thomas, whether or not I think he's going to be getting a contract extension or whether or not he deserves it right now. I mean, I think he is one of the best safeties in the league when he's healthy, but not really healthy all the time. And then we also talked about a little bit about the NFC West and why Seattle might need to hold off on giving him a contract extension because they have a whole lot of other holes they need to fill up. So we'll see how that all plays out. Earl Thomas said He's not going to go out there unless he has a contract. But, I mean, if Seattle doesn't give him a contract, I'm almost positive he'll be out there week 1. I have no, inside knowledge about it. But, I mean, if you pay attention to how these players have been over the years, I mean, they always bluff. But, nonetheless, we'll see how it all ends up. Now we're going to be talking some NBA. All right, first game up from yesterday. We had the Sacramento Kings facing off with the Miami Heat in Miami. And look what Sacramento did. They beat I don't know, the Heat a good team? Are they, would we consider the Heat a good team? I think so. I mean, they're 27-21. Don't really have, the biggest talent on that team. I mean, you got Hassan Whiteside, but, I mean, I don't think he's I don't know. Hassan Whiteside's been having a down year, I think. So, I mean, the Heat are a good team, yeah. So, I guess we could say the Kings beat a good team. The Kings won this one 89-88. Let's start off with the Heat stats. You had Josh Richardson with only 6 points. He shot 2 of 13, had 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Hassan Whiteside, bad game from him, only 8 points. Fouled out, had 13 rebounds, shot 3 of 10. Goran Dragic had 23 points, 8 of 14 shooting, 3 of 5 from the three-point line. Off the bench, you had Justice Winslow with 11 points, 5 rebounds, shot 3 of 7. Bam Adebayo with 6 points, only 1 rebound, 2 of 4 shooting, and 21 minutes off the bench. Kelly Olynyk with 10 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 4 of 10 off the bench. And you had Wayne Ellington off the bench with 20 points, 4 rebounds, shot 7 of 16, 6 of 13 from the three-point line. I'm almost positive Wayne Ellington's going to be in the three-point shootout, too, for All-Star Weekend. So that's going to be fun watching him. He's been a nice little three-point shooter so far this season. As for the Kings, you had Zach Randolph with 10 points, 10 rebounds, 5 of 13 shooting. Justin Jackson got the start in this one. He had 8 points, 3 rebounds, shot 4 of 5. Willie Cauley-Stein, not that good of a game from him. Only 9 points, 4 rebounds, shot 3 of 8. De'Aaron Fox, 14 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, shot 6 of 15, and did have the game-winning putback dunk on there. In that game, you had Bogdan Bogdanovic with 11 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, shot 5 of 10. Off the bench, you had Buddy Hield with 24 points, played extremely well, 5 rebounds, shot 10 of 15, 4 of 7 from the three-point line. Nothing else really notable off the bench for the Kings, and I mean, this game really came down to the Heat not boxing out on that last play. So I think it was Bogdanovic who ran to the elbow of the paint, took a fadeaway shot, it hits the rim, bounces off, and then you see De'Aaron Fox out of nowhere jump up, put it back in for a dunk. And, I mean, there was about maybe 2-3 Heat players right there near the ball, and just none of them boxed out. So it was easy for Fox to go out there and get the ball, and like I said, put it back for the game winner. So now the Kings are currently 5-33. Miami's 27-21. And I mentioned a little bit how Hassan Whiteside just really hasn't played too well so far this season. I'm kind of jumping on the hype train of they should trade him, I think. All right. Miami's obviously not going to win anything this season, and I really like what they got in Bam Adebayo off the bench as far as so far this season for him. I mean, they drafted him with, what was it, the 14th, 15th pick? It was one of those picks around there. And, I mean, he's shown that he could play in this league. He's shown that he's been developing and playing extremely well. And like I said, I mean, the Heat, yeah, they're a nice little story right now. I think they're currently the 4th seed in the East right now. Yeah, they're currently the 4th seed in the East, game back at Cleveland, a game ahead of Indiana for that 5th spot. And like I said, I mean, let's say they do make the playoffs at the number 4 spot. I mean, you're either going to have to play Indiana or Washington. That's going to be a tough series for them. And then if you win that, you're most likely going to be playing Boston unless somehow Boston doesn't get past the first round. But, I mean, that'd be crazy if they didn't. So, nonetheless, I mean, you're really going to be second-round exit team. So, might as well just trade a guy like Whiteside. See if you're obviously going to get a first-round pick for him or possibly a couple of role players that you can get for him, like a couple of players and then a first-round pick. So I think they should end up doing that, trading him and starting at Bam Adebayo at the center position. So like I said, I mean, you still got Kelly Olynyk, and I know people don't really think too highly of Olynyk, but he's been pretty solid so far this season for the Heat. So, I mean, that's what I think they should do, but, I mean, they all got to decide. Well, Pat Riley's got to decide what he wants to do. Next game up, we had the Washington Wizards facing off with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Thunder pulled this one out 121-112. For the Wizards, you had Markieff Morris with 20 points, 9 rebounds, shot 7 of 12, 2 of 3 from the three-point line. Otto Porter with 11 points, 6 rebounds, shot 4 of 11. Otto Porter's been struggling for a few months, I feel. I mean, a couple of months at least. I mean, just really, he started off the season hot, and then after that, when John Wall got hurt, and when he was out for a few weeks, I mean, Otto Porter just started playing poorly, and even with John Wall coming back, Otto Porter just hasn't been the same player. Then you got John Wall with 21 points, 12 assists, shot 7 of 16, 5 of 10 from the three-point line. Bradley Beal erupted for 41 points, 7 assists, 12 rebounds, shot 15 of 26, 6 of 11 from the three-point line. For the Thunder, you had Carmelo Anthony with 13 points, 8 rebounds, shot 4 of 11. Paul George, 18 points, 4 assists, 2 rebounds, shot 6 and 19, 2 of 9 from the three-point line. Not a good shooting night from him. You had Steven Adams with 12 points, 10 rebounds, 5 of 7 shooting. Russell Westbrook, 46 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, shot 19 of 29. Great game from him. And off the bench, I believe it was Terrence Ferguson with 11 points there. So the Thunder are currently 28 and 20. Let me see what their standings are what their standing is in the Western Conference. I think they should be around 4th or 5th. It depends on what the Spurs are. Or actually, the Thunder are currently 5th. They're a game and a half back of the Timberwolves, and they're 3 games back of the Spurs for that number 3 spot. If you remember me saying early on in the season, I said constantly that the Thunder were going to get swept by the Warriors if they played each other in the playoffs. I mean, I might have got a little ahead of myself. Probably not going to get swept either way playing the Warriors, but I mean that series will only go about 5 games at the most, I think. But nonetheless, I mean, the Thunder have been playing good basketball so far. Like I said, they started off slow, but then they've started to pick it up. They started to develop well as a team. Carmelo Anthony is starting to take less shots and starting to fill in his role a little bit more as a third option on that team. Paul George, I think he still needs to find his shot. I mean, sometimes he'll shoot the ball well, but most times I feel, again, this is just my opinion, most times I feel like he just doesn't shoot the ball that great. Russell Westbrook, I mean, he's Russell Westbrook. He's always going to play well and put up big numbers, so you don't got to worry about him. But like I said, the Thunder have been playing well. I mean, when it's all said and done at the end of the season, I'm sure they're going to be playing the Timberwolves or the Spurs in the first round. I don't see the Thunder really hopping up to that number 3 spot. I mean, it's close, but I mean, you still got to, like, the Spurs right now, they've been playing without Kawhi Leonard, and they're still one of the best teams in the West right now. I mean, I don't think they're on the same tier as the Rockets or the Warriors. I think that's going to end up be ending up who plays each other in the Western Conference Finals. But, I mean, the Spurs are just, like they're right behind there. They're Kawhi Leonard away from competing with the Rockets and the Warriors, I guess you could say. But, I mean, even with Kawhi, I think the Warriors win that series easily. So, we have to wait and see about that. But as far as the Thunder matching up with the Timberwolves, I mean, that's good. I think that'll work out for them. I think they could pull out a win in that series. And as far as the Thunder and Spurs go, I mean, that'd be a little bit tougher for the Thunder because the Spurs are a more well-rounded team. But, I mean, anything could happen when you got Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and Carmelo Anthony if they start hitting on all cylinders. So, like I said, the Thunder beat the Wizards 121-112. As for the next game up, we had the New York Knicks facing off with the Denver Nuggets. Denver pulled out the win in this one, 130-118. You had Kristaps Porzingis with 21 points, 7 rebounds, fouled out on this one. He shot 7 of 16 before he fouled out. And his counter with 20 points, 7 rebounds, shot 9 of 13. Courtney Lee, only 7 points there. Michael Beasley off the bench had 21 points, 4 rebounds, 6 of 8 shooting. And then you had Trey Burke with 18 points, 11 assists, shot 8 of 12. Trey Burke, I mean, what was he? He was a free agent, I think, before the Knicks picked him up, unless he was playing somewhere else at the end of someone's bench. But I mean, Trey Burke out here dropping 18 points off the bench. I mean, if he keeps it up, maybe the Knicks could. Let's see, where are the Knicks at in the East right now? All right, so they're currently I don't know. I got a little ahead of myself. They're currently about 5.5 games back of 4.5 games back of the Bucks for that number 8 spot. Knicks are currently 21-28. I think they're going to be a lottery team. Got a little ahead of myself there. I didn't know they were that low, but nonetheless, I mean, maybe they could compete and play well and help develop those players. For the Nuggets, though, you had Nikola Jokic with 18 points, 10 assists, 7 rebounds. He shot 5 of 9. Then you had Mason Plumlee with 14 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. He shot 6 of 6 from the field. Jamal Murray with 18 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, shot 6 of 13. Gary Harris, 23 points, 3 rebounds, shot 8 of 14, 4 of 6 from the three-point line. Will Barton got the start in this one. He scored 10 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, shot 4 of 10. Off the bench, we had Trey Lyles with 21 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, shot 9 of 12. Wilson Chandler off the bench with 16 points and shot 6 of 9, 2 of 4 from the three-point line. The Nuggets are a team that, I mean, they're 25-23 right now. I think they're currently the 8th seed, about game and a half up on the Clippers for that 8th spot. And the Nuggets, I mean, like, if they make the playoffs, what good does that do for them, honestly? All right, obviously they got a bunch of young players in Jokic, Murray, and Harris. You got Barton too, but Barton's kind of like a Tasmanian devil when he's out there. I mean, you can't really control him. But I mean, if this team makes the playoffs, I mean, what are they gonna? Like, I know they had Paul Millsap earlier in the year, and they were really banking on him being out there for them in order to help them be better. And obviously, if he was out there, they'd be a whole lot better than what they are now. But it's like, I know they got him on a long-term contract. I think 4 years? But I mean, is this Nuggets team really, even with Paul Millsap coming back maybe at the end of this season or even coming back next year, is this a team that can compete even with like the Pelicans, the Thunder, the Timberwolves? I don't think so. So, I mean, the Nuggets right now are kind of in a weird spot, I feel. But nonetheless, they pulled out the win, and they're currently the 8th seed. As for the final game of the night, we had the Minnesota Timberwolves facing off with the Golden State Warriors. Warriors blew out the Timberwolves, and the Timberwolves really had no shot in this one. The Warriors won this one 126-113. For the Timberwolves, you had Taj Gibson with 12 points, 10 rebounds, shot 6 of 13. Andrew Wiggins, not a good shooting night from him, only 10 points, shot 4 of 18 from the field, had 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Then you had Karl Anthony Towns with 31 points, 11 rebounds, 5 assists, shot 13 of 24. Then you had Jeff Teague with 17 points, 7 assists, shot 7 of 14. Off the bench, you had Jamal Crawford with 21 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds, shot 9 of 16. All right, so a couple of weeks ago, that reminds me, I was talking with a couple of buddies on like a Friday night. We're talking, and they asked, is Jamal Crawford a Hall of Famer? He's not, I don't think, right? I mean, Jamal Crawford's put together a nice little NBA career for himself, but I don't think he's put up real Hall of Fame numbers. And they also asked, like, is Andre Iguodala a Hall of Famer? And I don't know. Is Andre Iguodala I'm not sure what people think about Andre Iguodala. I think he's been a nice, he's built himself he's just he's better than Jamal Crawford, but both have built themselves nice NBA careers that have lasted long. But I'm not sure if you can really say that Andre Iguodala is a Hall of Famer, and I think for sure Jamal Crawford isn't one. But like I've said, they built nice little careers for them. As for the Warriors, though, in this game, you had Draymond Green with only 9 points. He did have 8 rebounds, 3 assists, shot 3 of 7 in this game. Kevin Durant, 28 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists, shot 10 of 19 from the field, 6 of 9 from the three-point line. Stephen Curry with 25 points, 9 assists, 5 rebounds, shot 9 of 14, 5 of 9 from the three-point line. And then Klay Thompson also with 25 points, 5 rebounds. He shot 9 of 13, 7 of 9 from the three-point line. So like I said, that's it for the NBA games going on from last night. And I had a few words to say about the players in the NBA. The NBA, as far as players go, I mean, they probably have the softest players in the league as far as just pretty much egos and all that. All right, because I watched a clip from First Take earlier before I started the show, and Will Kane was talking about how the NBA All-Star Draft should have been televised, which I think it should have, but the only reason why it wasn't was because the players really couldn't agree on it being televised or not. And if you think about it, why wouldn't the players want it televised? And then Will Kane, this isn't concrete information or anything like that. This is just theories and all that. So I'm just going to talk about it. But Will Kane goes out and says that he thinks that it came down to egos and players not being wanted to be players not wanting people and fans to see them being drafted last. I mean, again, it's not concrete information. It's not truth or anything like that. It's just theories, but I believe it. I mean, you got Russell Westbrook, who they showed him the list for the All-Star teams for which teams they got drafted to, and Russell Westbrook was last. And he was frustrated because of the fact that he thought he got drafted last. He was all mad about it, all talking bad, all salty about it, and then so they tell him oh, it's in alphabetical order, and then he gets all happy about it. And then you got guys like Damian Lillard even not making the All-Star team, complaining about it, and then eventually they end up getting on there because a coach picks them up, and then they're all happy about it. But I mean, it's just an All-Star game. I don't get why players get so caught up in it. It's just fans voting. I mean, it doesn't really mean anything whatsoever. Let me see if I could pull up the All-Star team, see what they drafted. All right, yeah, so I got it right here. We got LeBron James. He picked up DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. That was a bold move by LeBron right there, picking up Kyrie Irving. So he got Kyrie. Then he picks up LaMarcus Aldridge for the reserves, Bradley Beal, Kevin Love, of course, Victor Oladipo, Kristaps Porzingis, John Wall, and Russell Westbrook. All right, then you got for Stephen Curry's team, he picked up Giannis Antetokounmpo, DeMar DeRozan, Joel Embiid, James Harden. On his bench, he's going to have Jimmy Butler, Draymond, Al Horford, Damian Lillard, Kyle Lowry, Klay Thompson, Karl Anthony Towns. If I had to go pick off the top of my head right now, I'd have to go with LeBron's team as being the best. Okay, so let's compare the starters. I'll take DeMarcus Cousins over Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'll take Steph over Kyrie right now. Anthony Davis over Joel Embiid. I'll take LeBron over James Harden. And then let's see, who am I missing? And then Kevin Durant over anyone on Steph Curry's team. As far as the bench goes, that's where Steph has the better team, I think, on the bench. Because then you got Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Al Horford, Damian Lillard, Kyle Lowry, Klay Thompson, Karl-Anthony Towns. I mean, the best player on LeBron's bench is Russell Westbrook. John Wall, he's been kind of off and on this season. LaMarcus Aldridge's been pretty solid. You got Victor Oladipo on there, but I mean, I'm gonna have to go with the firepower of LeBron's starting five. I mean, DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. I mean, it's pretty disgusting right there. So, nonetheless, like I said, as far as the NBA players go, I mean, they're pretty soft. I mean, how can you get frustrated over whether or not you're drafted last? I mean, is that really the reason why we didn't get this thing televised? I mean, imagine. I mean, the NFL. I can't remember if they still do it, but they'd have like people like Deion Sanders. I think he went up against Jerry Rice as like little head coaches, quote unquote. And they drafted their teams, and like that was fun to watch. I mean, that's the only I haven't watched the Pro Bowl in a few years, but I mean, I'd watch the draft because it was entertaining. So I mean, imagine seeing LeBron go up against Steph Curry drafting their teams. That'd be pretty fun there. But nonetheless, these players got egos that can't get shattered. So that's why we didn't get it, I guess. At least that's what I'm assuming. But nonetheless, that's all I got to say about that. Next up, we're going to be talking about the Buffalo Bills and their little offseason that they got to do in order to fix that offense and team around them. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to your favorite sports podcast. At least it's my favorite podcast, but I might be a little biased as far as deciding. But nonetheless, here we are. First few segments First up, we talked about Earl Thomas and a little bit about the NFC West. Second segment, we talked about the NBA games that went on for Thursday night. Recapped those. Talked about why I think the NBA players are soft and have egos that get in the way too much. Pretty much got the NBA All-Star draft taken away from us because I mean it could have been televised, but the players didn't really agree on it. So it's all that ended up. Now we're going to be going back to the NFL. We're going to head over to the AFC East, head over to Buffalo, and talk about the Bills. All right, so Eric Wood, for his season-ending physical, found out that his career was going to be over. All right, he's got a season-ending neck injury, and that's it for him. I mean, the guy, I can't remember, he's been around in the league for at least 8 years, I think it is, and he's been a solid center for Buffalo, like, pretty much since he's been there, right? Never had to worry about him and always did his job well. I mean, Buffalo's always had a pretty strong offensive line, and, like, that's pretty much been, like, it's been Buffalo's offensive line, and their defense has pretty much been their bread and butter so far. All right, but now that you're losing Eric Wood, that's just another position you got to fill in the offense, okay? Because now, like the Bills are in a tough spot right now, right? They're teaming with the playoffs after 21 years. Fans got excited. I mean, for being real here, they did make the playoffs on a bit of a fluke. I mean, it took a 4th and 12 Andy Dalton completion for a touchdown in order to get them in. But nonetheless, they got in. I'll give them that, all right? And, I mean, they did lose to the Jaguars. What was it, like 10-3? I think that was the score right there. So now, here we are at the offseason, all right? Now, they need to figure out what they're doing at quarterback. I'm almost positive it doesn't what they're going to do at quarterback does not involve Tyrod Taylor, so I think he's going to be gone. All right, you do have LaShawn McCoy at running back. At wide receiver, you do have Kelvin Benjamin, but he's not a number one receiver, I'll tell you that much right now. Zay Jones, I mean, he was okay, I guess you can say, but that's being generous right there as far as his play this season. Tight end, I mean, you do have Charles Clay who's aging, but you do have Nick O'Leary who's looking like he's going to take over after Charles Clay is done. And then now at the offensive line, on your offensive line, you're missing Eric Wood. And as far as defense goes for the Bills, I think they're still pretty set up. They're still set up pretty nicely. They are getting older, so eventually they're going to need to bring in some younger guys to eventually replace the older guys. But I mean, as far as the offense goes right now, I'd be a little worried. I'd be a little worried just considering the fact if Buffalo could even make the playoffs next season. All right. Because like I said, I mean, right now they don't have a quarterback and they don't have a pick high enough to go and get a guy like Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, Baker Mayfield. I mean, you're probably going to have to settle if you're the Buffalo Bills. If you want to draft a quarterback with that 21 or 22nd pick in the draft, you're probably going to have to settle for a guy like Lamar Jackson. I think what's his name from Washington State, I think it's Luke Falk or Mason Rudolph, but I don't see them going that route either. I think Buffalo right now is going to try and focus on picking up a receiver with one of those first round picks, and obviously now you got to pick up a center because that's another big hole right there. And it's not like they need just one receiver and they'll be fine. They need a few receivers, all right? Because those other receivers that they drafted last year just didn't work out. I know it might be a little bit too early to give up on them, but I mean, eventually you're gonna have to put some weapons around for your quarterback to throw to, because that's one of the biggest reasons why Tyrod Taylor last year wasn't throwing for over 300 yards or a bunch of touchdowns. All right, people like to talk about how it was Tyrod Taylor's fault that the offense wasn't really clicking too much. But, I mean, look who he was throwing to. Kelvin Benjamin, Zay Jones, like I said, didn't work out too well. I can't even name you off the top of my head any of Buffalo's other wide receivers on that team. All right? It was always Charles Clay, Nick O'Leary, or LaShawn McCoy getting the ball. And I think it's a bit unfair for Tyrod Taylor because now that guy's going to be without a job, I feel, when it comes week 1 of the NFL season next year, unless he's going somewhere to be a backup. But I think he's way too good to be someone's backup. All right, Tyrod Taylor, if we're being real here, should be a starting quarterback in this league. He's not someone who is going to go out and lead your team to the Super Bowl. He's not going to win you games. He's like a Case Keenum type. He's he's better than Blake Bortles. He's pretty much like an Alex Smith type of quarterback, all right? He's not going to turn the ball over, and he's not going to lose you games. But you need to put weapons around him in order to be more successful than what he was with Buffalo. So, I mean, like right now, like I said, I mean, Doug McDermott, or Sean McDermott, whatever his first name is, I think he said, this past week, that he's not sure what Tyrod Taylor's future holds with the Bills. He's not sure if he's going to end up staying there or if he's going to end up leaving or getting rid of him. If I'm the Bills, I mean, I'd bring back Tyrod Taylor. What are you going to do? Are you going to, I mean, let's see. Let's go through the quarterback options out there, all right? Like I said, I talked about the quarterbacks that you could draft. Let's talk about the quarterbacks that you could sign or trade for. All right, Kirk Cousins, that's not going to happen. I don't think Buffalo currently has enough cap space to get a guy like him, and I doubt Kirk Cousins wants to go to a team like that where you can go to a team like Arizona or Denver, where I think he's going to end up. Alex Smith, I think they're going to have to end up trading for Alex Smith. Right now, Buffalo has 2 first-round picks. Kansas City currently has no first-round picks, so I mean that's where you could see a guy like Alex Smith ending up for a first-round pick. Maybe a guy like Sam Bradford. I think he's going to be a free agent. But, I mean, as far as, like, Buffalo picking him up, there's always that worry that you're not sure if he's going to stay healthy for you. And then there's guys like Case Keenum, possibly. I've been seeing around, like, on Twitter and stuff, as far as, like, NFL reporters and writers go. I mean, I've been seeing that they're thinking that Case Keenum is going to end up staying in Minnesota. But that's kind of odd to see, because it's not like they can keep Teddy Bridgewater and Case Keenum, I don't think. I mean, eventually, like, those guys are both free agents, and I'm sure either Bridgewater or Keenum's going to want to be a starter in this league. If they bring in Keenum, I mean, maybe Teddy Bridgewater's a guy who could fit in with a team like Buffalo, but he's like just like Tyrod Taylor. Bridgewater could be good for you, but you're gonna need to put weapons around him. You're gonna need to pick up some big time receivers in order for him to succeed and play as well as he can. All right, Teddy Bridgewater's not a guy who's going to make people around him better, and I think that's where we're going as far as the quarterback position goes. All right, these quarterbacks now coming into the league, I mean, yeah, they have talent, but they're no Tom Brady, they're no Drew Brees, they're no Ben Roethlisberger, and they're no Aaron Rodgers. All right, so eventually, like now, the NFL is starting to head toward a more defensive game, and now you're going to see quarterback play get worse, I feel. I mean, it already has gotten worse as we've gone up. So as far as Buffalo goes right now, I mean, yeah, you still got a nice little offensive line, but you're going to have to replace the center. You're going to have to worry about receiver, and you're going to have to worry about running back. And even as you're doing that, you're going to have to worry about a team like the Jets who, didn't do too bad last season. All right, the Jets finished, I think, 7-9? Let me see if I can pull it up, the final standings for the AFC East. All right, so the Jets, they finished actually 5-11, where I think they were 5-7 at one point, but then Josh McCown goes down, and that was all she wrote for them. All right, but now, I mean, as far as the Jets go, they're probably going to end up drafting a quarterback. It might be a guy like Josh Allen or maybe a guy like Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's a bit of a wild card in this draft. I mean, you're not really sure what you're going to get out of him. Right now, the consensus on him is like it's pretty one or the other right now. It's either Writers think that Baker Mayfield is Johnny Manziel 2.0 and he's not going to work out in the NFL. And I think that's a bit of a lazy comparison right there. It's like teams comparing Josh Allen to Carson Wentz. All right, people like to compare Josh Allen to Carson Wentz because Carson Wentz's head coach or offensive coordinator, whatever it was, became the head coach at Wyoming, ran the same offense and all, and they come from a small school. That's pretty much the only thing that you could really compare the two right there. Yeah, Josh Allen does have a strong arm like Wentz, but I mean that's pretty much it. I think Carson Wentz overall had more talent than Josh Allen did coming into the draft. All right, so that's a lazy comparison right there. And like I said, going back to Baker Mayfield, like people compare him to Johnny Manziel because he had that one little run-in with the police. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I remember he had some type of run-in with the police. And he's a quarterback who could take off and use his feet. All right, I think that, yeah, obviously those two things right there you could compare, but I think Baker Mayfield is a better quarterback as far as passing the ball. He's more accurate, and I think he made better decisions. Johnny Manziel was more of let me make something out of nothing and hope it works out. All right, Baker Mayfield, I feel like the dude's a winner. All right, he's won the Heisman. He's made the college football playoff. Came close to beating Georgia in that playoff game. Probably one of the best Rose Bowl games of all time too. That's a story for a different day. So like Baker Mayfield, I mean, yeah, let's just say he ends up on a team like the Jets. I mean, he could end up playing well there. Or even a guy like I think it's going to be Josh Allen or Baker Mayfield ending up on the Jets. Because like I said, I think it's going to go Darnold. It's going to go Darnold or Allen number 1. Let's say it goes Allen number 1. Sam Darnold could fall to the Jets. All right, if you remember last year, that's what the little pair was right there. The connection is like, oh yeah, Sam Darnold's going to be ending up on the Jets. So that could happen this season. I'm almost positive that the Giants are going to be going for Josh Rosen in this draft. And I mean, as far as the Broncos go, like I said, their coaching staff is on one of the Senior Bowl teams, and they requested to have Baker Mayfield and Josh Allen on one of their teams. So I think they're going with either of those. So I think it's going to be either if Browns don't take Darnold, then it's going to come down to Darnold or Baker Mayfield for that Jets team. So you got to worry about that. Jets got a nice young defense too that developed and played well. The Jets defense doesn't really try to do too much. They just fill their gaps and do their jobs. So you always got to worry about them getting better. Robbie Anderson, you got to worry about him. And the Jets do need to find a new running back. But I mean, they're developing and they're starting to get better. They got a nice little coach in Todd Bowles also. As far as the Miami Dolphins goes, they're a bit of not sure what they're going to be next season. All right, Ryan Tannehill tore his ACL in training camp. Pretty much a throwaway season for them. Now he's going to be back. Not sure if they're going to be bringing back Jarvis Landry, extending him. So we got to wait and see how that ends up. You got to see who they draft at number 11. I mean, Miami's also a team that could draft a quarterback at number 11, or they could go with a guy like Tremaine Edwards from Virginia Tech, the linebacker, or Roquan Smith, the linebacker out of Georgia. If they get Smith, and that's going to be a nice little defense right there. So Buffalo's really got to figure it out. I'm not even going to bring up the Patriots because the AFC East, as long as Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are there, it belongs to them. There's really no argument for it, so there's no point in bringing them up. So yeah, like I said, the Buffalo Bills really got to worry about what they do this offseason. They really got to hit on other moves. Otherwise, they could be a team who could possibly finish in last next season. But that's all I got to say about that. So next up, we're going to be talking a little tennis, see what we can do there. We're going to be talking Tiger Woods, making our picks for Friday's NBA games, and pretty much anything else that comes to mind in the world of sports. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. So far in the show, we've talked about Earl Thomas, the Seahawks. We've talked about the NBA games, the All-Star teams that got picked. We talked about the Bills, them losing Eric Wood, how that's going to hurt them as far as their whole little rebuilding process for this offseason. And now, we're going to talk about some other sports. Let's start off talking about tennis. All right, Australian Open's going on. Now for the final, we're going to have Roger Federer facing Martin Cilic. Is it Cilic or Cilic? I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but either way, those two are playing each other in the final. I'm not really the biggest tennis guy, but I know enough to know that Roger Federer is probably the best tennis player of all time. At least one of the best, I feel. All right, because I remember, even since I was a little kid, always putting on SportsCenter, ESPN, whatever it was, and I had no idea what was going on in tennis, but Roger Federer's name was always out there. Roger Federer has been doing this since like 2003, I think, around there. All right, you've had guys like Rafa Nadal come through. Rafa Nadal has been one of the best tennis players ever, too, at least for this generation, and he simply just hasn't been able to last as long as Federer has. Federer's pretty much Nadal's like Peyton Manning, I feel like you could say. Federer is like a Tom Brady type. All right, Nadal had his little run, and eventually with age, his play started to dip. All right, I know Nadal's still out there, and I know he still competes, and I know he can still win, but he's not doing it at the same level as Roger Federer. You got Roger Federer, like I said, it's the Tom Brady type, getting better as he gets older. You've had guys like Novak Djokovic, Novak Djokovic is like Aaron Rodgers, I feel. All right, he's the guy who is pretty much the next in line, or at least he was. I know that he really hasn't done much lately, but at the time, at least when I was paying attention to him, he looked like the Aaron Rodgers type, all right? The young guy who is, he's got all the talent in the world and probably the most talented tennis player, but, he's still not winning as much as Federer is. So, like I said, Federer is going to be playing in the final for the Australian Open. I don't know how many I know they call Grand Slams, right? So I'm not sure how many Grand Slam tournaments he's got or major wins. I'm not sure if it's like golf, but nonetheless, Federer probably is one of the best of all time. And I think this final is going to be taking place on Sunday, because I think that's when usually the tennis finals take place. So yeah, you got Federer and Martin Cilic playing Sunday, I believe it is, in the Australian Open final. Now let's head over to golf. All right, Tiger Woods. Let's talk about him. Currently on even par right now. Projected cut is at -1. Tiger Woods is currently on his 6th hole, I think it is, or is he on his 17th hole? Let me check what it is. Currently on his 16th. Yeah, he's through 16 holes right now. It's not looking good for our Tiger. He needs to hit a birdie. And this is live right now, all right? You're getting the live updates of Tiger Woods. Currently on his 17th hole, needs to get a birdie. Otherwise, the boy's not going to make the cut. Tiger Woods doesn't make the cut. What more could you expect from him? Tiger, every time Tiger Woods comes back, it's always news because it's Tiger Woods, one of the biggest marketable athletes in the history of sports. First guy to ever, I think, make $1 billion as far as playing sports, professional sports goes. So, anytime Tiger's out there, it's news. Usually I'll check it out. But, what do we expect of Tiger Woods for the rest of his career? Let's be honest. What do we expect of him? Do we expect Tiger Woods to go out and win some tournaments? Do we expect him to go out and win a couple of majors, break that record? I think he's been sitting on 15 for a few years, I think it is, right? So yeah, do we expect him to go do that, or we just expect Tiger to be out there and be just another golfer now, right? Because you got guys like even Phil Mickelson is still out there, but Phil Mickelson is I think right now Phil Mickelson is shooting -4 right now. Let me see if I can find his name. There's a bunch of golfers out here on here, but. Yeah, I'm almost positive Mickelson, last time I checked, he was shooting a -4. He was out there, and he's going to make the cut. But, as far as Tiger Woods goes, what more could you expect from him? I think Tiger Woods is done, all right? I'm going to say that. Tiger Woods, he's done. He's past his prime. He's been past his prime. Can't really stay healthy. I think it's time to give up on old Tiger. All right, as much as that pains me to say, I know what he's done. I know what he's done for the game of golf. He's had guys like me out there watching a few holes just because it's Tiger Woods. All right, like I said, one of the most marketable athletes of all time. But now, you can't really expect Tiger to go out and win anything. I think he's been done for a while. All right, so Phil Mickelson's at a -6 right now. He's at through 13 holes, five strokes off the lead. That's golf talk right there. We're doing good. All right, so yeah, like I said, Tiger Woods. What can we expect out of the guy? He's had a great career, but I think it's honestly, is it sad? Can you consider it sad that Tiger Woods, just seeing him out there, he's like a shell of himself. It's like Brett Favre. Yeah, Roger Federer is like Tom Brady. Nadal's like Peyton Manning. Tiger Woods is like Brett Favre. And I know, obviously, Tiger Woods, if we're comparing just achievements, he's way ahead of Brett Favre as far as achievements going in their respective sports. But as of right now, at Tiger's age, pretty much like I said, that's where he's at Brett Favre at right now. All right, Brett Favre, if you remember, was playing for the Vikings, Man, I can't believe he played for the Vikings. That's crazy. I mean, Brett Favre, one of the greatest Packers of all time, played for one of their biggest rivals. And, dude, he took the Vikings to the NFC Championship. I forget about that. And eventually he goes to the Jets. But, like, watching Brett Favre was the Jets, like watching Tiger Woods now. It's like, yeah, we know what you did. We know you used to be a great player. We're probably, like, waiting to see, like, if you could still do it. But chances are you're not. And that's where Tiger Woods is at in his career right now. Like I said, he's currently even still on his 17th hole. So, I mean, if he doesn't get a birdie before his 18th hole or until he's done, then he's most likely not going to make the cut. So, hopefully Tiger does it. I'm rooting for him. But nonetheless, I mean, can't really expect too much out of the guy anymore. All right, so let's talk NBA scores for Friday, or NBA games for Friday night. Let's make our picks. We got a few games, more games than usual going on Friday night. All right, let's start off with the first one. We got the Atlanta Hawks facing with the Charlotte Hornets. This game's in Charlotte. Right now, the Hawks are currently 4-19 on the road. Charlotte's currently 13-14 at home. Both teams are really bad. I mean, Hornets got Kemba Walker, so I guess that's the reason why I'm going to be picking them. I got the Hornets winning this one. Like I said, the Hawks are currently 14-19 on the road and got probably, I think, the worst record in the league right now. So, I mean, there's no reason to really pick them in this one. Then we got the Pacers facing off with the Cavaliers. If I'm not mistaken, I think the Pacers have beaten the Cavaliers both times they faced off with each other so far this season. Cavs, I mean, the Cavs, they finally made that lineup change. They're sitting out Tristan Thompson, or they're sitting out Jay Crowder, bringing in Tristan Thompson. So now it's going to be Tristan Thompson playing center, Kevin Love at the 4, LeBron at the 3, JR at the 2, and then Isaiah at the 1. I'm not sure, like, what that does for the Cavs. You still can't rebound. Okay, last time, I saw a nice little stat. Last time the starting five was out there, they've only been out there once. That was for the Toronto Raptors game where they got blown out by 34. All right, like off the bench, I mean, the Cavs don't have a rebounder now that they brought Tristan Thompson to the starting lineup. And, I mean, now if you think about it, man, they really got fleeced on that trade with Danny Ainge. I still don't get why teams trade with Danny Ainge. He literally wins every trade he does. All right, got Isaiah Thomas for, I think, Marcus Thornton and a first-round pick. Gave up Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Jason Terry for those Brooklyn picks. Gave up like six role players from the Celtics for Kevin Garnett. Got Ray Allen. And then traded that number 1 pick to the Sixers. Ended up having the Sixers take Markelle Fultz. Celtics got Jason Tatum. So far, that's worked out for Danny Ainge. So, I mean, Cavs got finessed on that one. But nonetheless, I mean, I don't really see bringing Tristan Thompson into the lineup making too many pretty much making them any better than what they are right now. I think, though, for this game, I'm still going to go with Cleveland. They're currently favored by 6. The Pacers are currently 11-12 on the road. Cleveland's currently 16-6 at home. And, I mean, eventually they got to start winning games. But I think they've lost, 7 out of their last 8. So, I mean, eventually they're going to have to pick up one win. So, I think this is going to be the night where they get a win. Next up, we got the Utah Jazz facing off with the Toronto Raptors. This one's in Toronto. Jazz are currently a bad road team, currently 16-19 on the road. Raptors are currently 17-3 at home. I mean, I don't see Utah winning this game at all. They really don't have much of an offense. They got Donovan Mitchell, but that's pretty much it right there. Sometimes Joe Ingles shows up. Sometimes Rodney Hood plays well off the bench, but I mean, they're not going to be able to contain DeMar DeRozan or Kyle Lowry, so I'm going with the Raptors in this one. This is an easy pick. Then we got the Lakers facing off with the Chicago Bulls. I still think Lonzo Ball is going to be out, but I'm going to go with the Lakers in this one. They've been playing good basketball. Had a nice little win against the Celtics the other day on Tuesday, I believe it was. Chicago's actually favored in this one. Let's see if there's something I don't know. Let's see if there's any players out for the Lakers, and that's why Chicago's currently favored. Lonzo Ball's out, Chris Dunn's out, so that's pretty much it. But I'm going to go with the Lakers still. Like I said, Chicago's favored, but I mean, I think the Lakers are currently playing the better basketball at the moment, so I'm going with them. Again, this game is in Chicago. Then we got the Clippers facing off with the Memphis Grizzlies in Memphis. Clippers are currently at 9-13 on the road. The Grizzlies are currently 12-14 at home. I'm going to go with the Clippers in this one. They're the better team, and the Grizzlies really... They're underwhelming. They've been underwhelming this season, to say the least. Man, tickets for that game are currently starting from $3. That's brutal. I mean, that's not brutal. That's nice for the fans out there. I mean, go to a game for $3. But, man, I wish the Kings tickets were like that. All right, then we got the Nets facing off with the Bucks. I'm going to go with the Bucks in this one. Pretty easy pick right here. Bucks currently 15-9 at home. Nets currently 8-15 on the road. The Bucks got Giannis Antetokounmpo, Chris Middleton, Eric Bledsoe, Malcolm Brogdon. Nets, they got D'Angelo Russell, but... I mean, he's still coming off of his injury, trying to get into the fold of things. And I don't think DeMar Carroll or didn't look were going to be enough to beat the Bucks. So I'm going with the Bucks in this one. Then we got the Rockets facing off with the Pelicans on ESPN at 5 o'clock. Rockets are going to be the road team in this one. Pelicans the home team, obviously. Pelicans are currently 13-19 at home. Rockets are currently 16-6 on the road. This one's a bit of a tough one. This is one where I could see it going the Pelicans' way, but I'm going to go with the safe pick here. I'm going to go with the Rockets. All right, I'm going to take James Harden and Chris Paul over DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis. I think they're going to be able to pull it out. So I got the Rockets winning that one. And then we got the Portland Trailblazers facing off with the Dallas Mavericks. Portland's only favored by 1.5 right here. Mavericks are currently 10-16 at home. Blazers are currently 12-12 on the road. I think it's going to be a game where the Portland Trailblazers, either CJ McCollum or Damian Lillard, don't show up, and the Mavericks are going to be able to pull this one out. So I'm going to go with the Mavericks right here for my upset pick. Then we got the Philadelphia 76ers facing off with the San Antonio Spurs. Philly's been an average team so far this season. All right, I'm saying average because you know what? They're 23-21. Yeah, Joel Embiid's been playing really well. He's averaging 23 points a game, 10 rebounds a game. But I just don't think they're going to have enough to beat a team like the Spurs. So I'm going to go with the Spurs in this one. They're currently 20-3 on the, at home. So there's no reason to pick against a team like that. So I got the Spurs beating the Sixers. Then for the final game of the night, we got the Knicks facing off with the Suns. Knicks coming off of a loss to the Denver Nuggets. Currently on a back-to-back right here in Phoenix. This is a tough one to pick right here. This is a true pick-em game. New York's favored by a point, but that doesn't really matter. I'm going to go with the Sun. Ooh, this is tough. I'm gonna go with the Suns. They're the home team. Knicks currently 6-19 on the road. Excuse me. Suns currently 8-16 at home. I mean, that's better than the Knicks road record, I guess you could say. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Suns. I think Denver Booker's gonna have a great game right here. All right, so to recap my picks, I got the Hornets beating the Hawks, the Cavs beating the Pacers, the Raptors beating the Jazz, the Lakers beating the Bulls, the Clippers beating the Grizzlies, the Bucks beating the Nets, the Rockets beating the Pelicans, the Mavericks beating the Trailblazers, the Spurs beating the 76ers, and the Suns beating the Knicks. All right, I think that's pretty much all for today's show right here, unless there's something else I didn't catch going on in the world of sports. I mean, Marcus Smart's going to be out for 2 weeks, cut his hand at the team hotel in Los Angeles. He's got, like I said, he's going to be out for 2 weeks. Al Horford's going to be back for Saturday's game against the Warriors, but that's pretty much all that's going on right now in the world of sports. Let's go over the college basketball scores from yesterday, actually. Let's go. Only one game tonight, I think. Let me see right here. Thursday, the 25th, we had Purdue beating down on number 25 Michigan. Or no, not beating down. I read the score wrong. Number 3, Purdue beat number 25 Michigan by 4 points. Purdue won 92-88. Then you had number 11 Arizona beating Colorado 80-71. Penn State knocked off number 13 Ohio State. Ohio State went out. They were down 76-79 with like 5 seconds left. Guy hits a shot, a three-pointer, ties it up, and then Penn State goes down the court, hits another three, wins the game right there at the buzzer. 82-79. Like I said, Penn State knocked off number 13 Ohio State. Then we had number 15 Gonzaga beating Portland 95-79. St. Mary's, who's ranked number 16, beat BYU 75-62. Number 17 Wichita State beat UCF 81-62. And then number 21 Arizona State was upset by Utah 80-77 in overtime. As for the games going on tonight, we got the Wisconsin Badgers facing off with number 6 Michigan State. Michigan State's going to win that one, so nothing really to overthink right there. So that's actually going to wrap it up for today's podcast. To recap the show, we talked Earl Thomas in the Seahawks segment 1. We talked about the NBA games from Thursday night in segment 2. Talked about the All-Star game a bit. And then we talked about the Buffalo Bills segment 3. And then for this segment, we talked a bit of tennis, talked a bit of golf, made my picks, and then went over the scores for yesterday's college basketball games. So like I said, that's it for the GSMC Sports Podcast. Thanks for listening. As always, I'm your host, Jesse Tapia. We'll be back on Tuesday, actually. So stay tuned till then, and we'll talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.